Welcome to Horn Takes Live. I am Sean Redfern, and I am here with a very special guest tonight. We've got Mark from Occupy Left Field. Mark, thanks for joining us tonight. How's everything going this evening?
Everything's great, man. I'm happy that you're having me on. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to talking some Texas baseball tonight.
Absolutely, man. It's I love baseball. I grew up a football guy, became a baseball guy a little later on in life when my son started playing a lot of baseball, and I love baseball season, and as much as I am sad that football is over, I'm probably equally excited that we can move on now and do some baseball stuff. So we're excited about that. We actually had Chuck Ertley from the 84-85 team on last night. Talked to him for about an hour. I don't know if you've ever met Chuck, but great storyteller. And I met him at a bar before the Clemson game, like the night
Love
before the
that.
Clemson game. That was just like a random meeting. And so, yeah, man, that's pretty cool. But we talked a lot of baseball last night. We'll obviously talk with you tonight, and then we'll have Hardball Harge on tomorrow night, hopefully. Sometimes we get him, sometimes we don't. His schedule changes a lot. So being a radio guy, that's the way it goes, I guess.
Very nice. Harge is a great guy, man. I'm good friends with him. He's a good
Yeah,
one.
I love him, man. We've had him on a few times, and always good to talk to Harge. We actually had Mark Henry the last time, so that was cool. I'd never have talked with Mark Henry before, so that was pretty cool to talk to those guys pre-Cotton Bowl. I may never have him on the game again because I think, or on the show again. I think it was their fault that we lost that game, obviously. But
Their morning show is great, man. I listen to it every day. Those are good guys, man. They keep me up to date with all things Texas related. So
yeah, they really do a great job. I tune in as much as I have an opportunity to, which is, maybe one or two times a week, but it is good stuff. So we'll plug those guys forever, and Harge has been good to us, so we'll always do that. Let's talk about Occupy Left Field. So for those of us that may not know much about Occupy Left Field, what is Occupy Left Field, and kind of how did it get started? Talk to us a little bit about all that.
yeah, it's a really great story. Personally, from my side, right? I'm born and raised an Austinite, been here my whole life. So Texas athletics are always something that I've been really close to and something that I've been around quite a bit. And for those of you that are familiar with Dishfalk, man, it's really a special place, and it's changed quite a bit over the years. But as I was younger, man, I like to joke that I was kind of raised at Dishfalk Field. Every weekend, my parents would have me at the dish. Sometimes they'd drop me off with friends, let me run around and act crazy all day. It was kind of my babysitter growing up. And, I've always loved Texas baseball games, always spent my weekends there, love the Springs, supporting Texas baseball. And, it was a little bit over a decade ago, Dishfalk went through a reconfiguration, and they remodeled, restructured the stadium, and we had a little tailgate spot out in the main parking lot behind home plate. And when they reconfigured it, as it was kind of in the works, they put some photos of the newly configured stadium in the Austin American Statesman. And we were joking around with some friends, talking about the left field line over there, and it's like, wow, it looks like you can actually see the field from outside the stadium. That'd be pretty cool if that was actually the case, and we could move our tailgate over there once the stadium opened. And sure enough, man, that season that it opened up, we went and checked it out as construction was ramping down. And a little perfect spot out there right behind the left field foul pole where you can literally hang out, see the entire field. Those were back before the days where they sold alcohol at sporting events. So it was a cool little opportunity where we could tailgate, watch the game at the same time, and kind of do the best of both worlds. And man, it's just something that stuck. It's kind of grown exponentially over the years, and it seems like every year we have more and more folks that come out to join the Occupy Left Field group, and it's just a fun time, man. We take a lot of pride in being a great support system for the program. We love inviting folks out. We love trying to get support for the team and just growing the overall atmosphere at Dishfalk. So it's a fantastic spot. I got to say, if you've never been out there before, I want to encourage y'all to come out. I think as we keep progressing and getting more and more mature, we're really just hoping that Dishfalk can take off overall, and just be a really fun environment for Texas baseball fans.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man. And it is kind of like a hill out there, right? So you can kind of see down from the hill a little bit. And I've seen some pictures of you guys last year, probably last year, maybe the last couple years. Looks like there's lots of cold beer, lots of food. It's kind of just a big tailgate and a good time. I've seen pictures where you guys kind of go in and out of the Yeti yard and stuff like that. So just
Yeah.
checking out all the stuff. It's a party out in left field, man, and I think that's pretty cool. Uh, Talk to us about kind of how it's evolved. So you said it kind of started out as a tailgate and just kind of a random happenstance. Hey, we should go
Yeah.
over here. Talk to us about how it's evolved and really how the movement of Occupy Left Field has evolved, and maybe some of the things you guys are involved in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it started as a small group of guys that were just out there. Probably wasn't more than 5 or 10 of us at a given game, and all of us were, season ticket holders for Texas baseball. But like I mentioned, man, we're just looking for a good tailgate spot where we could kind of do the best of both worlds. And one of the cool things about left field that we've grown over the years is we've kind of become that spot where the players' families come to congregate before the games, during the games, after the games. And to me, that's one of the most special things about left field. You go out there any given day, and you'll probably see the parents of about 80% of our players out there with their families, drinking beer with us, having food. We have, days where we'll have picnics. People will kind of bring barbecue, bring food. We'll do group events. So it's been really cool, man, just to kind of see it grow. And as we've gotten bigger and bigger, there was a run of years where it seemed like Texas baseball was hosting a regional every year. And through that period, we had local beer distributors and companies come out and offer to do sponsorships for us out there in left field. So as of right now, we have a really good group, Capital Reyes, who helps us with beer donations. So they sponsor us and kind of fuel the party out there in left field. So it's really great, man. We're out there and we're not really paying out of pocket for the beverages, and it's just a great spot, man. We like to invite people out. We like to encourage visiting fans to come hang out with us. And it's just something that we're trying to get larger and larger every season. And it's just been so much fun, man. We've seen it grow through the years, and we have so many folks that come out, every weekend during the home season, and really just kind of build that community and hang out together for every Texas game. So it's pretty special.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I think one of the coolest parts about some ballparks is some of just the unique things you see. I think it's at Arkansas. They kind of have an outfield area up on the hill where it's kind of general admission, and you pay, and it's the first few people that can kind of get in, and you just kind of stake your claim. So things like that are what makes college baseball so cool to me, is just the little unique things about each ballpark and the way fans do stuff. So I think it's awesome that you guys are building something up like that. I've seen where I feel like I've seen where there's some kind of merchandise and stuff like that that people can purchase, Occupy Left Field stuff. Are you guys involved in the NIL process at all?
So we did kind of kick off with the Texas One Fund as it started off, and Occupy Left Field was kind of the baseball arm of that organization, right? So we feel like with our social media following, right, we get to spread the word of NIL and the importance of supporting the program from a baseball perspective. So we do take pride in getting people plugged in to Texas One Fund, especially for baseball. And most of the people out there are active contributors. But from a merchandise perspective, right, we've done a couple cool things out there. One of the things that I like to do every season is we make a new koozie, a left field koozie for every year, right? We'll have a new slogan or mantra on the koozie, and just depending on the year, sometimes we give those away for free. Sometimes we sell them to help support the program or our tailgate.
Mhm.
So we're working on something this year where we're wanting to create a new set of koozies, have those for sale for all of the Texas baseball fans, and we want to contribute that money back to the Texas One Fund and Texas Baseball NIL specifically. And then we've also worked with some good friends like Last Stand Hats. Mike Murphy approached us a couple years ago, wanted to help us with some merchandise. So we did some left field hats, some hoodies, stuff like that, and we've had some recent conversations about bringing that back again and trying to find the right way to get that organized. And again, right, we're wanting to plug it back into the program and into the Texas One Fund. So any proceeds for that is really helping drive and fuel the Texas baseball program.
Nice. I just started donating to Texas One Fund earlier this year, and I go straight to baseball because I already give enough. I feel like to the football, just buying tickets and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I give a little bit every month to the Texas One Fund for baseball, and I'm excited to see what all that can do, because I feel like baseball, especially NIL, has a unique opportunity, probably until they increase this scholarship limit for good, but certainly it'll still be helpful. But right now, I mean, you're talking 11 and a half scholarships across an entire baseball team, 35, 40 guys. That anything from an NIL perspective can really help. So all you guys out there that want baseball to be great again and hanging out at the College World Series every season, you gotta go buy the koozies, you gotta go buy the hats, you gotta do all that stuff to make them great again. So get out there and support Occupy Left Field with that stuff. I just got season tickets to baseball this year. I live in Lubbock, Texas, man. So we take these trips in for football games and stuff like that. And but I did break loose this year and get some baseball tickets. So we're going to be down there probably for some of the bigger SEC stuff. We'll definitely come by and say hello to you guys and hang out. We may end up standing out there the whole time. You just never know. I'm pretty good about liking beer and food. So it
Aren't we
sounds
all?
like, yeah, it sounds like y'all are my cup of tea for sure. You talked about the fan base and kind of how they've embraced it. How's the program embraced it? It seems like the players really get a kick out of it. Hit the home run, hook 'em horns to left field. What else? What else cool stuff has gone on from a player and program perspective with you guys?
Man, it's been fantastic, to be honest with you, and we've had such great support from the Texas baseball program and from the administration. I'll say that CDC is one of the most supportive guys out there. We see him every game. He walks up, around the left field gate, comes in every time, and says hi to us. He knows the majority of us out there. He's a great guy. He's been so supportive, as you know, right? He's doing everything he can to make every sporting event at UT just top of the class, right? And he
Mhm.
wants Texas baseball to be the place to be every weekend in Austin during the spring. So with Yeti Yard and some of the other improvements that they have coming, dude, Dishwalk is the atmosphere there has just gotten so much better over the last couple of years. But going back to your question, man, we've just been blown away by the support, right? Both from the players and the parents, but also from the coaches. Obviously we're in kind of a transition year this year, going from Coach Pierce to Coach Loss. But Coach Pierce was one of our biggest supporters out in left field, man. He would contact us before every season. A lot of times, invite me up to Dishwalk to talk before the season. He always wanted to know, hey, how can we support you guys? How can we help build the atmosphere around the program? So that was really cool. And just in the last couple of months, Coach Sloss has picked that right back up. He actually reached out to me last week where we're planning to get together and talk before the season starts. Just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support the team, to build the environment and all that kind of fun stuff. And we're really looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting some of the new parents from the upcoming year. The one of the things that we love the most is we've made so many great friends through the years out in left field. Some of my best friends right now are former players' dads, and we're invited to ex players' weddings, and we go see them over the summer. They come visit us during baseball season, so it's just a lot of special bonds and relationships, man. And we're just looking to take it even further in the upcoming years.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. It sounds like good stuff all the way around. And anytime you can kind of build something organically, I think, and going back to the coaches, kind of embracing that, I think that's a smart move because you can't do everything yourself. Your job's to go coach baseball and go win baseball games. You can't help build the program necessarily at the same time. It's good that they're feeding into groups of people that are really passionate about going and doing those things. And obviously, Occupy Left Field is very passionate about that. Did the name Occupy Left Field kind of derived from sort of some of the other Occupy movements that were going on at the time? Or was that just a total luck move by you guys?
No, it really did, and I got to be honest with you, I don't even remember the name the day that name kind of stuck. But just kind of thinking back, I don't know if you're familiar with this part of Occupy Left Field history, but there was a series of years where our group, quite frankly, got a little bit too rowdy, and
Oh, really?
during that sequence of years with Augie at the helm, when we were having regionals every year, just kind of back to back to back, man, it just got so wild out there for postseason games. We were much younger back then too, so we were
Sure.
a lot more wild and crazy. And there was actually a point in time where previous ads shut us down,
Wow.
and they actually took that left field fence and put a plywood board up over it
So you
so
couldn't
that
see.
we couldn't see the field anymore. And they were basically trying to block or stop our tailgate from happening because it had it had gotten a little bit too wild over the years. If I'm remembering correctly now, I think that's kind of where Occupy Left Field came from. We were really angry at the decision to block what we had built, and we kind of started a movement at that time to try and petition against it, meet with the AD to see if we could get that decision reversed. And it didn't work out very well. For several years, we were blocked, but thankfully, man, CDC is the one that came to the rescue. His first year in Austin, we actually met him opening weekend of baseball. He came up to say hi to us while we were tailgating. And it's really funny, man. About 5 minutes into the conversation, he literally looked at me and my buddy Jeff Cross, who's the other founder of Left Field, and he asked us about the sign. He was like, what's up with that wooden sign right there?" And we laughed and told him that a previous AD had put it up to block us. And we kind of told him the story. And it was crazy, Sean. He literally looked at us and he goes, "Well, let me see what I can do about getting that taken down." And it took him less than 24 hours to get that removed. The next day was a Sunday of that series. He came up again before the game, talked to us a little bit, was just asking us again about the history, was ensuring that all of us out there were season ticket holders. And then later in the game, he's leaving about the seventh inning. He walks by our tailgate and says, "Hey, we got a surprise for y'all after the game. So don't leave after the game's over." And then he takes off, he gets in his car and leaves. I'm sure he had somewhere else to go. And sure enough, man, as soon as the Eyes of Texas was over, these facilities guys came over in a golf cart and just immediately started taking down the sign and removing it. So he kind of put us back in business and allowed us to get growing again with the tailgate. So that's kind of a cool story and history
That's a
there.
great story. That's
Yeah.
a to me that's kind of a personification of CDC. When you see CDC, and I don't know if other athletic directors are like this, but I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter. He interacts with people all the time. I mean, he's very good about interacting with fans and people with complaints, whatever the case may be. He does a great job of sort of handling all that stuff very gracefully. And again, I'm a big football guy. What he did with Bevo Boulevard and Smoky Midway and all that's amazing. One of the biggest issues I used to, and it wasn't an issue, like we went to big tailgates and the tailgates were great, but the way he's kind of centralized the fan base around the stadium at game time
Yeah.
is huge, because that used to be one of the complaints, is there's nobody in the stands. Like it's halfway through the first quarter, we're in a national championship run and there's nobody in the stands. What's going on? Well, they had to hike 2.5 miles from their tailgate from some state parking lot somewhere to get to the stadium, and they probably just forgot. And now they're humping it trying to get there. And so bringing everybody in like that has just been, to me, it's been a game changer.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy just how, and again, I don't want to like talk bad of other athletic directors that have been at Texas. I think a lot of them did a lot of good things, but
Mhm.
man, he's really changed the game from a fan experience perspective. And that's an awesome story about him getting that sign taken down.
Yeah,
That
he's fantastic, and like I mentioned, man, he's always out at baseball, interacting with the people. A lot of us have kids out there in left field, and he knows our children by name and gives them hugs when he sees them. So he's a great guy, man, and he's really really invested in just making the athletics experience top notch and top of the class. So we're here and hoping that we can help him build Dish Falk into a top SEC venue, and that's what we're really hoping to accomplish.
Well, we'll be there a little bit this year to help you out with that. So I'll definitely come by and hang out with you guys for sure. 2025 Texas Longhorns, crazy offseason for Texas. Uh, we part ways with David Pierce, a guy that you know he never got the big one won, but David Pierce did a lot of great things. He was just a crazy little play at Stanford away from 3 straight College World Series appearances, something that is really small company. There's not a lot of guys that have done that. And he went what 3 out of 4 years with the University of Texas to Omaha. So done some great things, but I think everybody kind of agrees it was time to move on from that. And then CDC pulls the ultimate coup and grabs a guy from the bitter rival Texas A&M Aggies the day after they just played for the national championship. So there was tons of smoke about that possibly happening for a couple weeks. Did you ever buy into any of that smoke, or were you like, yeah, this could happen, or there's no way this could happen? Because I got to be honest, I had Hardball Harge on the show, and we were talking about this like right before all this happened. I said, there is no way he's leaving Texas A&M in a. It's just like the optics of that are so crazy. What were your thoughts leading up to all that?
It was just such a crazy period. I got to be honest with you. You mentioned there was smoke and there was conversation and people kind of hinting at that being a possibility. Uh, I got to be honest. I didn't really believe it for a while when I heard it. And then, obviously, as A&M progresses further and further into the college baseball postseason, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if there was a shot a couple weeks ago, that's gone now,
Yeah,
right? They're playing for a national championship, and then they're up 1-0 in the national championship series. And I'm thinking, okay, they could win the Natty tonight. There's no way he's going to leave that school and come to Texas, right? So I think the further they progress, the less likely I thought it was. But I just kept hearing rumors and kept hearing talk up until the last minute, man. And that was one hell of a ride. When the news finally dropped, I was just blown away and shocked. But I could not be happier about having Schlossnagle in Austin, man. He's just absolutely one of the best college baseball coaches out there. He just did incredible things at TCU, then got to A&M and immediately elevated them to where they couldn't get to before he was there, right? And just had them into the College World Series. And I think in his couple of years at A&M, they won more games in like 2 years than they had won in Omaha over their entire program's history. So man, we knocked that hire out of the park, and I am just so stoked to see what he can do in Austin, and I can't wait. It's perfect timing as we go into the SEC, man. You have to be at the top of your game. You have to be able to compete from a recruiting perspective, from an NIL perspective. You have to help raise money and interest in the program. And again, man, going back to CDC, he knocked that out of the park, and I think Schloss is going to do some special things in Austin.
yeah. There's no doubt Schlossnagle knows baseball. He's done it at 2 different schools. He's probably about to do it at 3 different schools. Yeah, I don't think if you're a head coach of baseball, there's probably not too many jobs better than the Texas Longhorns baseball job. When you go back and look at all the tradition and just the amount of support that is there. I don't know. I mean, there may be some other ones, and there's a lot of newcomers that are certainly, kind of have good programs going on right now. You look at Tennessee, Arkansas to a lesser extent. I think big, kind of big deal lately. But man,
Mhm.
Texas just has that blue blood, like the bluest of blue blood in baseball, and really tough to top that. So you said some stuff, and my brain was going while you were talking. I was thinking about it. Almost all of CDC's men's hires have been kind of like these cooey attempt type things
Yeah.
where like you just don't see them coming. I remember when Steve Sarkisian got hired, like 2 weeks before that, CDC's like, Tom Herman's my guy, that's our head coach, and just blank for 2 weeks, nothing. And then all of a sudden I wake up, I'm thumbing through the internet. Steve Sarkisian's the new head coach at the University of Texas. I'm like, what? I thought it
Yep.
was some fake deal, you know. I was like, this is a fake news thing. This is not real. Uh, and then obviously the Chris Beard thing, and this might be a sore subject. Out of the three coups he's pulled off to this point, and maybe Steve Sarkisian wasn't a coup, but it was definitely, to me, a big surprise. Like I don't
Mhm.
think there was a whole lot of smoke about that one happening. Which one do you think was the biggest? Like just from the shock factor, like jaw hitting the floor. This is the craziest thing that's ever happened.
I think it has to be Schlossnagle. I don't even think it's close, to be honest with you, man. I
Yeah,
mean, literally taking your rival's coach the day after they play for the national championship. I mean, I don't think that's been done in any sport ever. And
yeah,
that is, it's just insane, man. The ability to be able to pull that off, and to sell Texas and to get, Schlossnagle to come here, I don't think that'll ever be topped, to be honest with you. And
yeah.
man, I tell you one thing, that's really gonna light the fire of that Texas A&M rivalry in baseball, man.
Oh,
That is gonna
absolutely,
be something to see this year when
absolutely.
we host A&M. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely nuts, man, and I'm there for it. That's one of the ones I definitely want to try to get to for sure if I can make it work. Um, Schlossnagle brings almost his whole staff. He does bring his whole staff, and then I forgot the guy's name that's back there at A&M now. He was the hitting coach. He's back at
Early.
A&M as the He's
Yeah.
back at A&M as the head coach. Obviously, brings Tulo in, which I thought was a great move. I know, well, I don't know, but from what I've heard, the players love Tulo. He loves being around the players. He's been able to develop a lot of guys. A lot of good shortstops have come out of the University of Texas. Why Tulo's been there, so I think that's huge. I think the big game changer though was bringing in the arm farm. If you
Yes.
look at the last couple of years for Texas, and I think last year more than the year before, they've kind of struggled on the bump, and it's really just kind of been the downfall of the program. When you're talking about not advancing, they just didn't have enough pitching, not enough arms, and not enough. I wouldn't say talented, but consistent arms. I think we'd see starters go out and pitch really well one game, or really well for a couple of innings inside of one game, and then just it fall right off the end of the table. And so I was talking to Chuck last night, and I asked him. He's a catcher. I said, Chuck, how fast can a pitching coach turn around a pitching staff? You know, is this enough amount of time? He said, yeah, I think so. So it'll be really interesting to see what the arm farm can do with the guys the guys that are kind of left over, and it's not many. You look at this pitching staff. You know, there's 24 arms in the pitching staff. Half of them are youngsters, underclassmen. You total them all up, 281 and 2/3 innings are
Yeah.
returning, and that's like 52% of the innings they pitched last season. So it is a huge sort of rebuild for that pitching staff. So I'll be really interested to see how well those guys perform on the mound this year. We talked about bringing Tulo back. We got a lot of guys out in the field. You know,
Mhm.
you look, you got Rylan Galvan, Kimball Schusler, Jalen Flores, Will Gasparino, Max Ballou, and then Casey Borba. A lot of familiar faces from an offensive and field position perspective. They hit a lot of home runs last year.
Yeah.
I think this year is gonna bust that one out of the water. I think we might be pushing the Ivan Melendez home run record year in terms of bombs by this Texas team. What do you think is the most sort of intriguing storyline about this 2025 team as we head into the season and the alumni game in a couple of weeks?
To me, I think the intrigue is right where you started, right, and seeing what Coach Weiner can do with the pitching staff, man. I'm just very excited to see, the way that he works. I've heard such fantastic things about his development of pitchers, right? And then the desire for people to be mentored by him, right? So I think he's going to be huge in recruiting as well, not just with high school recruits, but attracting, transfer portal names in future seasons, right? If pitchers think that they can come to Austin and be taught by one of the best pitching coaches in the game, that's a huge thing for Texas, right? But going back to to your question about intrigue, pitching is just such an unknown for us this year, right? We do have some guys that are going to be coming back that were big contributors last year, but I'm hearing that they may be sliding into different roles, right?
Mhm.
Guys like Max Grubbs and Ace Whitehead, who by necessity were forced into starting roles last year, right? I feel like they may be getting kind of moved around a little bit, and Max may be moving those chess pieces, to get a guy like Max Grubbs back in the bullpen to help us from that perspective. So it's a big unknown, but I think it's going to be exciting to see how the pitching staff grows. And again, I agree with you about our lineup. I think we have a lot of veteran players coming back, and I think our offense right away is going to be scary. I think there's a lot of power there. I like some of the pieces that we've added. One of the guys that I'm very excited about is Easton Winfield, the transfer from Louisiana Monroe. I have heard so many fantastic things about him. He's been like penciled in as a left field starter, and I think he hit like 335 last year as a freshman, double digit home runs. And man, you look at that outfield that you have up on the screen right there. That's about as good as you can get from from a college perspective, man. Max Bellew coming back, Big 12 Player of the Year from last year. I've heard Gasparino's put on like 15, 20 pounds of muscle since last year. And I just think our lineup has so much potential. And if the pitching staff, can fall in line, this team in year one under Schlossnagle can be a really competitive program.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of talent there, and this is just a little snippet from, I believe it was D1 Baseball, kind of put
Yeah.
out their projected starters. I just chopped it out and thought I'd throw it up during our conversation. The one unknown to me, I don't know much about him at all, is this Adrian Rodriguez at third base. Obviously, I originally kind of thought maybe we'd see Casey Borba there,
Hmm.
uh, but it looks like they believe he's going to be more in the DH role. But I was pretty clear that Winfield would be the left fielder more than likely. Mendoza, I figured he'd come in as a transfer and start at second base. So and everything. I mean, one kind of a weird one to me is Schussler. I don't remember if Schuss played any first base last year. I think he primarily was catcher or DH, but he may have slid into the first bag every once in a while. I'm not sure. Do you remember?
I think he did have a couple of innings at first base. I don't think he's had a lot of time over there, but I have heard some positive things about him at first. Obviously, he's kind of penciled in there as probably going to be the opening day starter. So, uh, I'm interested to see how he'll grow into that position at first base. And, going back to your reference of Borba, I think he's going to be used all over the place, right? Third base, first base, DH. So I expect to see Borba kind of filling in. And Rodriguez, I got to be honest with you. I don't know a ton about him. I was able to go and watch some of their fall ball scrimmages. I was really impressed
Really?
about his ability defensively at third base. And I got to think that's probably one of the things that caught the coach's attention is just, solidifying the infield and making sure that we have our best defensive players out there in starting roles. So I'm excited to see what Rodriguez can do. Having a freshman start at third base isn't super common, right? And he's got to be doing great things if he's penciled in right now. So should be fun to watch.
Yeah, obviously he's doing something to impress the coaches. I don't have a subscription to D1 or Perfect Game, but I went and looked up his Perfect Game profile. They had him as, man, he wasn't very highly rated. I mean, and I don't know what that really means in baseball. I don't follow the recruiting as much as I do in football. But he wasn't a super highly rated guy.
Mhm.
And so I was like, interesting. But you're right. Obviously, Schloss knows how to coach baseball. He's not going to
Yeah.
throw a kid out there that can't play baseball. So um yeah, so the returning pitching we think is gonna, and I hope it's intriguing in a good way. Like honestly, I don't know if I can see too many more pass balls and walks, and man, just last year was really, really frustrating from a pitching perspective. And I think, it's kind of like with your kids. If your kids make the same mistake over and over again, you got to just keep coaching them and trying to make them better. But when they do something so well and then they mess it up, you're like, what is
Uh,
happening? Like, what is going on in your brain that gets you from perfect to that? And listen, I will always say this: baseball is a hard ass game. It is not
mhm.
easy to play baseball. Those guys, and I was talking to Chuck about this last night. Those guys make these great plays, and they make them look so routine to the point where people just believe that that's routine.
Yeah.
And then when they do blow the play, it's, oh my God, what is going on? So we'll be frustrated about baseball. Hopefully not too much this season, but we always know at the Horn Takes podcast that it is a tough game. It's not easy, or everybody'd be doing it for sure. Perfect Game has us ranked number 7 preseason. D1 Baseball has us 19 preseason. Who's right?
I'll be honest with you. I think D1 has it a little bit more correct. I mean, I think Texas has the potential to be a top 10, top 15 program this year, but they're going to have to prove it on the field. I think starting us at number 7 is a little bit too high. Uh, I personally I like the way that the schedule structured this year, though. Right, I feel like the first month of the season allows us some good opportunity, right, to see some decent competition. But then we also have two, winnable series at home at Dish Falk before SEC play starts. So I'm kind of interested to see how the first 4 weeks of the season go. And I think by then, man, we're gonna know how good this team may be. But to answer your question, I think top 20 is appropriate. But I'm gonna have to see it on the field before I think of us as a top 10 team right now. We've got a lot of question marks, a lot of new players with a lot of talent and ability. But we got to see how the team kind of gels and comes together. And we got to see what kind of positions and situations some of these new guys are going to be sliding into.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot to be said for just having a gel with a whole new coaching staff. Obviously,
Yeah.
these guys they've been with these coaches for a while, but they haven't been in game situations with these coaches. They're getting taught probably different things than they were getting taught just a year ago. The guys that are coming back, so there's probably a pretty decent adjustment period that it's going to take everybody to just get used to being with the new group of folks. You mentioned the first 4 weeks. They start off the Shriner Baseball Classic. They got Louisville, Ole Miss, and Okie State. I think I don't know how good Ole Miss is supposed to be this year, but I think those are 3 pretty decent, probably baseball teams. I
Oh
think we'll
yeah.
get to see a lot about, at least from a talent perspective, where they're at pretty early on in the season. And then, like you mentioned, they've got some of the easier home series and midweeks, and then they go out to Vegas. I believe they got Texas Tech, Washington, and I can't remember the third team.
Illinois.
Illinois, yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's probably a little step down in competition. Although Texas Tech will probably be Texas Tech, and
Yeah.
they'll find a way to be pretty good at baseball. Um, we're actually going to be out in Vegas. Is there going to be a presence in Arlington for Occupy Left Field? Are you guys going up there?
In Arlington and Vegas, yeah,
Oh, nice.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll be at both, and I got to be honest with you, man. We got to see something better out of Texas playing at the Ranger Stadium. I feel like every time we play there, we lose, man. So
Yeah,
we've had a rough run of luck playing there in
yeah,
Arlington. I'm hoping that things change this time around. So.
the Big 12 championship or the Big 12 tournament there. That's where the Big 12 tournament was there last season, right?
It's been there the last couple of seasons,
Okay.
and we've had one good run where we made the final and lost against Oklahoma. But last year we went 0-2 in the Big 12 tournament.
Right. Yeah, it's
Got
pretty.
swept out of that, and
Kansas
then
State beat us, and then TCU knocked us out, right?
I think Texas Tech beat us in one of the games.
Okay,
I
okay.
think it may have been Texas Tech and then Kansas State, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, man, we've had a couple of of appearances in this same tournament to open the season, and unless I'm mistaken, I think we're 0-6 the 2 years that we've opened our season there. So we've had some rough go of things, but I'm hoping that this year around will be a little bit of a different experience. But you're absolutely right, man. The competition is going to be great. Louisville, Ole Miss, uh, very solid programs. Oklahoma State is going to open the season inside of the top 20. And those guys, right? Oklahoma State and then Texas Tech and Vegas, they're really going to want to beat Texas, right?
Sure.
We're no longer in the same conference as them. And I'm sure there's going to be some extra motivation there on their end to try and hang a loss on us. So I'm very much looking forward to both of those weekends. I'm really hoping that Texas fans will be out there supporting. I'm expecting, right, opening the season in Arlington, Coach lost his first series as a Texas coach, that there's probably going to be a lot of interest and a lot of burnt orange and white in the stadium there in Arlington. So, man, that's just a couple weeks away. Can't wait for that. We're excited about being up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually looked at tickets the other day, and for the 3-day passes, they're almost gone for the reserved home plate deal. They've obviously got the general admission stuff, but the special ones with the club access, all that good stuff, they had very, very little inventory left of those. So I think you're probably right. There's probably a lot of interest from Texas fans there. Who doesn't want to go see, the first? Who doesn't want to be the first one to watch, Coach Schloss coaches Texas Longhorns? Again, it's just so surreal that actually happened, and he's the coach at Texas and not Texas A&M, and that will forever be just. I think people just start mouthing at you from A&M. You just post a picture of Schloss in a Texas shirt, and they'll just explode and lose their minds. So that's obviously good stuff. What's the best way for people to? Well, before we do that, what do you think? What's your early prediction for the season? Like, where do you see this team going? How far do you think they make it in postseason play? What does that look like for you right now, having just seen some of the fall stuff and obviously nothing in the spring really? What do you think this team gets done this year?
So I'll tell you this, man. I think I've never been more excited about a Texas baseball season. I can say very comfortably, we've never had the quality of opponents coming in that we're going to have this season. Right. I think if I'm remembering this correctly, and let me reference this D1 top 25, but I mean, we have home series against LSU, who's preseason number 3, Texas A&M, who's preseason number 1. We have Georgia coming to Austin. They're preseason number 8. So just the series that we're going to have at home in the SEC is just a game changer, man. It's almost like having 3 or 4 regional weekends during a regular season, right? Where I feel like every one of those games is going to be standing room only. If the weather's nice, it's going to be regional type tailgates and atmosphere from Friday afternoon to Sunday night, each of those weekends. So I couldn't be more excited about that. In terms of the team, man, I'm really going to have to see in person what that SEC grind is like. Looking at the schedule, it is just brutal.
Yeah.
We're not, no disrespect to these schools, but we're not playing Baylor anymore.
Right.
We're not playing the Kansas Jayhawks. There's no weeks off once you hit conference season, man. You look at the schedule this year, we open at Starkville in Mississippi State. We're going to be playing in front of 15,000 people week 1, and then we come home 4 days later and host LSU. So, man, these guys better be ready to go. I think right now, my honest kind of expectation for year 1 is obviously that we're a regional team, right? I expect Schloss to have us in the postseason. I do feel like we are a top 25 team, but I'm going to have to just see it play out, man. My goal every year as a Texas baseball fan is to get a home regional. And I don't think those expectations should change, right? I think that should be the expectation for Texas baseball every season, is that you are fighting for a regional and playing for a host spot. And I'm really hoping that the team can put themselves in that position to be playing for a top 16 seed once we get to the end of May.
Yeah, you mentioned the schedule. They got to go to Arkansas as well. That won't be easy. They got Florida coming in the last weekend, and I don't know what Florida is ranked preseason, but Florida always seems to have a good baseball team,
See,
generally.
I forgot about them. They're preseason number 10. So
Yeah,
four of our SEC opponents that we're hosting at home are in the preseason top 10 right now of the D1 poll.
yeah, and
So
they'll
that's
be
just insane, man.
they'll be top 5 or 6 in no time
Yeah,
until
we're
SEC play.
hosting. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're hosting four top 10 teams, and then going on the road to play Arkansas, who's number 5. So that schedule is just going to be a gauntlet.
yeah. The upshot to all that is if you can somehow manage to play well through that and find
Yep.
yourself and really become a good cohesive team and sort of get into a rhythm. There's not a lot that's going to scare you going forward from that.
Yeah.
You make it through that. And I think that's what Texas A&M ended up doing last year. They
Hmm.
kind of rose to the top of all of that in that SEC mess, and it propelled them to where they got to. So,
Yep.
uh, no reason this Texas team can't do it. Obviously, what is the best way for folks to reach out to Occupy Left Field if they got questions or want to help out, anything like that with what you guys got going? Is it best just to go out there and talk to you guys? Do you guys have a website, something like that?
We do not have a website right now. I am pretty responsive on our Twitter page, so if anybody shoots a direct message to Occupy Left Field, we'll get back to you very quickly. But the best way to check us out, man, is just to come out to Dishwalk and come introduce yourself out in left field. Like we said, man, there's always plenty of cold beer, great Texas baseball fans, and we don't want people to be intimidated by coming out, man. We're looking to grow that group. We're always looking for more support and more, crazy and loyal Texas baseball fans out there. So we would encourage folks to come out and just make yourself at home out there in the left field area. And we're really hoping that the crowds will come together for this year's team, man. And I'm hoping that they're playing in front of packed houses the entire season. I know that was the case a couple years ago. When Melendez was around, man, we were setting attendance records and having sold out games every weekend. And that's really what I'm expecting this season. And again, man, just hoping that Dishwalk kind of takes that next step up in terms of home field advantage and home field atmosphere. So come out and see us. Come out, have a beer with us, man. We're looking forward to meeting some new fans.
Outstanding. So find the hoodlums in left field. They'll all be double fisting beers and with a couple of ribs hanging out of their back pockets or something like that. Good stuff. Folks, you can find us on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube at Horn Takes. TikTok's still around, y'all. It's all good. Mark, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on tonight. We'll definitely have to hit you back, and we will come see you whenever we make it down there to Austin for a game. We appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Y'all get hooked.